Hi, everybody. My name is Sarah, and this is Pearls of Wisdom and Food with Carnivore. We also brush up against keto and carnivish because most of us came that same path where you can't get to the next level unless you've had those things. Although some people have gone right from standard American diet to carnivore. I don't know how they do that, but because I'd have so many questions. Is this carnivore? Does this count? Does this matter? Anyway, I don't know if you can see up close, but I had my glasses on and I was in the dark, and I still have some string of lights around one window that I like to sit with. It's still calming and everything, even though it's March 2nd. And I went to plug it in, and this part, the bridge of my nose, went right into the side of a chair, back, and yeah. So I might have a shiner coming, or just this deep redness might be it, but it was kind of weird. Yeah, of course I was in the dark, and it was one of those duh moments, and I'm known for duh moments if you know me personally. Duh. So anyway, here we are. It's March freaking 2nd. How did this happen? How are you doing? Are you still continuing along your path with just more and more insights, more and more willingness to approach carnivore all in? Are you? I love it. It's just suiting me just fine, thank you very much. And I have no plans to do anything different. I'm fasting today for some blood work because I want to see, if I'm still 678 with my cholesterol or not. And so I just had VitaCup Beauty Blend and black. And know what? It wasn't bad. Not that I'm ready to go all black yet, but perhaps my first cup could be like this. And it wasn't as painful as I always had it in the other times. And maybe I can go without things in it. Who knows? We'll see. But in the meantime, yeah, I'm going to try that in the morning because I'm busy. I'm checking my emails and checking comments on my YouTube channel and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Going black is kind of it's just a new tweak. It could work. We'll see. I'm happy with how things are. I have not weighed myself since January because I got discouraged from seeing like a half-pound gain each month. So I have no idea what I weigh. And when I do go to the doctors for my, annual weigh-in, I don't know, I'll see what they say. It's always a lot more because I'm fully dressed and it's 4 hours later. I've already had water and coffee and everything else. It's like such an unrealistic number. And, it was funny. I was just reading comments, and sometimes my video will provoke like the best of the best comments from viewers, and I love that. And one woman said, she said, who is it that said how much we're supposed to weigh anyway? And she said, as we get older, I love them, say we're supposed to have 10 extra pounds because if we get sick when we're older, we're going to need that store of fat because we could lose weight from being sick because we're not as nourished as we might be if we're not, somehow ailing. And I'll go for that. So, yeah, who's the one that determined it? So, of course, I figured it was Big Pharma and Big Agriculture because they want to keep things going for us. And if we can keep things going by, telling you that you have to eat your leafy greens and your healthy grains. What an oxymoron, right? And go ahead. And I was just listening to an oxalate video, and they were saying that if you must have your veggies, to take these things like calcium citrate, and then some people do this clay mixture and everything else, just so they can have a salad because it balances out in the stomach. I think that Mother Nature is trying to tell us something. If we have to take those things to have that thing, then maybe maybe the point is we shouldn't be having those things. But I don't miss the leafy greens or the veg like I would miss dairy, I think. And I know that I have dairy twice a week. Um, and, I suppose I could go without dairy. I'm not there yet. I still like my meats pizza. And I don't think I suffer any gastrointestinal issues from it. So I'm down to twice a week. I could definitely give up the first time because it's having a cheeseburger, a messy cheeseburger. I could go to a messy burger. That wouldn't hurt. But I still feel like I need my pizza on Saturdays just because it satisfies the goo, the standard American diet pizza type thing. I when watching an ad, not intentionally, but when I see a standard American diet, I would miss that pull that cheese and pepperoni still give me. I guess that's just who I am. And then I put on some of that ground sirloin that I get from the butcher that's 50 fat, 50 meat. At least it looks that way because it's like that much fat cap and that much meat. So I would say that's pretty 50-50. So yeah, are you all in with what you're doing? Now this is March. It's kind of one of those, March and April to me just kind of seem like gray, rainy, still kind of cold, especially if you get wet days. It's like, you're not coming off of the holidays with a big, phew, it's like a couple of months later, and you're not into the getting warmer, at least here in the East, where you'd have to be seen in less clothing. So, isn't this a good time to really tighten up what you're doing? To do some of that tweaking. And I'm not talking about all at once. I think that's the mistake a lot of us frequent yo-yo dieters did. We were all in. We thought of this new, latest, greatest, best food plan as, this is it. This is it. Thank goodness I finally got here and I can do this. And it's in our head what we're going to eat, when we're going to eat, how much we're going to eat, when can we weigh, all of that kind of stuff. And it could get us into trouble because we have that thinking again of all in. When I say all in, I mean you are here and committed to tweaking, to changing, maybe one thing at a time. Not the whole Megillah, not all / everything in that sense. It just means that you're here, you're willing to see what your body's doing, you give up or you introduce something and see how that sits, maybe give it a week, maybe give it 2 weeks. Carnivore, I would say, give it a few months. I say that because I think your body, if you haven't had an all animal product food plan before, and if you have, how could you ever go back to anything else? But if you haven't had an all animal product food plan, then your body has never had to adapt totally to it and give it a break. I know that for me, having like a wonderful ribeye off the big green egg on Sunday, there is no dissension. There is no message from my stomach that this isn't working. It doesn't make noise. It doesn't have a hard time digesting. And it's funny because growing up and getting older and doing food plans, I always thought it's the meat that your body has a hard time digesting. But it's the smoothest, quietest thing. It's like probably putting the right gas into the car that they suggest, right? And not trying to futz around with other things. Like if it says it takes high test or whatever that is, then you give it that, right? So, my body has never said to me, this all meat thing, it just, I don't know, it's kind of not working. Now, it might not be for everybody. I know this man that's in his 90s, and he has been a plant-based, probably pescatarian, where, he has fish or probably never, I probably could say, never has beef, rarely has pork, maybe a ham like at Easter or something like that. But given any choices, he would be fish, salad, veg, rice. And he's in his 90s, and he's trim, and he's happy, and his skin is perfect, and he's a very fortunate person. Now, I don't ever picture him wanting or needing to do a carnivore way of eating. So it's not for everybody. And and a turtle sent me food over medicine. And it's an interesting read. It's the conversation that could save your life. It's written by Pamela Popper, who's a PhD and a dietitian. And so, it, eating our way isn't for everyone. And so pushing our way of eating onto people is, what's the point? It's not for everybody. It's like coffee or tea. It's like Republican or Democrat. It's like, you know, everybody finds, hopefully, what works for them with their food list and goes about it. And if it's not working, if their food list isn't working, then they tweak it, right? So for me, being carnivore, it's about tweaking things. It's about knowing what is going to be satiating / filling. I have another carnivore friend who has, she has to make it for her kitty cats that have digestive issues. So she makes like boiled chicken breast. And she finds that having that is helpful because it begins to tell her that she's full, and then she'll have the fatty piece of beef, and having all fatty beef. I'm an all fatty beef kind of person. But it's figuring out what that works for her. Just like for that man that I know in his 90s, what works for him. For me, it's a slab o' beef. It's psychologically filling up here, and it is satiating in my belly. I'm not sitting there bloated and like wishing I didn't eat that, and missing the things I'm not having. It is just totally, here it is. It's your plate of fuel, Sarah, and you're just gonna like eat until you've had enough. Sometimes I don't eat the whole thing, especially if it's a big slab-o ribeye, because I have them cut it nice and thick at the butcher. And then other times I eat the whole thing and I go, I ate the whole thing. Learning to trust your gut and your fullness meter for me was a whole new ball game. When I was eating the standard American diet, I always joked, well, first of all, I never got full. So if I finished off like what would be considered the entree, the salad, the meat, the veggie, the starch, you got to have your starch, right? And I thought I was being so much better by having the sweet potato instead of the white potato, as if, right? I love that. So then I always joked, but I really wasn't joking, that I had a sugar compartment in my belly that always was ready for the dessert. Always. No matter how much I ate, notice I'm not saying how full I got from what I ate. There was always that part of me that wanted, needed, / had the dessert, especially if in a restaurant. It's like there was always, I wasn't an appetizer person, but I was an entree to dessert person. And the dessert was just a known thing. And, I always liked the restaurant that let you know what desserts they had before, looking at the entrees. So if there was a real decadent dessert, I would have swordfish. I would be, oh my God, look what I'm giving up. I'm giving up something with fat, rather than like a baked stuffed type of thing that fish sometimes was. Look at what they do to disguise the fish. They put so much bread stuffing and then a sauce, and then they cook it in butter and everything else. And it's like, you feel so virtuous for having fish. It's like, have the fattiest piece of meat they've got on the menu. Get that prime rib, right? Butter on it. Um, and so, yeah, I would always joke that my dessert compartment was always empty and always ready for the dessert, no matter no matter the volume of what I had before then. And so to change and train myself to understand content, satiated, you're fine. You can have it as part of your next OMAD tomorrow. It's like it was a whole different thing. I just always had to have it. That not soup to nuts, but usually beef to dessert. And to change that thinking after decades and decades of having it. And when I began my low carb, high fat keto, and then keto under 20, and then keto under 10 total, I had to give up fat bombs. Fat bombs were my dessert. My addict had to give them up. My addict is named Ms. Slick, and I had to give them up because Ms. Slick thought that 3 times a week was 4 times too few. My Ms. Slick wants dessert 7 days a week. So the 3 days a week were crazy because on the day that I had it, I thought, oh, today's the day, get to have my fat bomb. And then on the day that I didn't have it, I knew that I would have it the next day. Today's the day. And my head would be busy because Ms. Slick keeps my head busy. And Ms. Slick really is not happy with me being carnivore because there's not a lot to think about. I'm not clock watching anymore. That was my worst thing, clock watching. Oh my God, I'm going to eat. And then I went to 2MAD with my keto, and I still was a clock watcher. Okay, noon. I'll have my eggs and cheese and bacon. Oh boy. And then at 3, I'd start looking. I was the same way as an alcoholic. I'd be working on one drink, thinking about when I was going to get the next. I would be having my first meal of the day, my eggs, bacon, cheese, thinking about my 3 o'clock, the second part of my 2MAD. And this part needed so much adjusting and changing that it took a long, long time. Now I know. I sit down, I eat the mostly beef diet that I have, and I know that if I don't have that full ting yet, I will. Give it 5 minutes. I begin my dental hygiene routine, floss, brush, things like that. It tells me food's done for the day, girly, and you'll be fine. And now I don't even get to the girly talk anymore because, I know. I've had what's on the plate. I haven't had to go back for seconds. There was no need for them. I'm satiated. I'm content. My belly says, you had enough. So my addict is happy and my belly is happy because sometimes I have to please 2 masters. Being a food, carb, sugar addict has 2 masters. And so when they're both happy and purring and they go into the corner and they know, like, okay, 23, 24 hours from now, we'll do this again, right? And they're happy, they're secure, they don't feel abandoned. I'm talking about my addict and my stomach. This is sad, isn't it? My stomach felt abandoned. So that's how it works for me. Not sure how it works for you, but I'm sure glad that you're here. And if you're older, I'm glad you found this station because we don't lose 20 pounds from Monday to Thursday. We don't even lose 20 pounds from Monday to Friday, but we're here. We're turtles. We're snowflakes. We're members of the No Matter What Club. And we're pickles because you can't be a cucumber once you're a pickle doing carnivore. And we're Goldilocks. And I had a black coffee today. Oh my God. The parade should start at 6. Thank you so much for watching. I'm glad you're here. I'll see you the next time. Bye-bye for now.